Hello, I'm Oxford Christian Forbes Nordberg, and most people, they refer to me as Ox. Now, before I ask you to write my name in on your ballot this November, I feel that it's only fair that I rip the mask off and I tell you who this guy Ox Nordberg really is. My hope today is to begin to build trust, name recognition, and I'd like to give you a sense of who is asking for your vote this November. This is not going to be polished, and I promise you it's not going to be perfect. And most definitely, it's not going to be from a campaign manager and what he would beg me to say. I'd like to be raw, honest, and unapologetic. I want to earn your trust and prove that I'm not like anyone else running this November. Believe it or not, my parents did not name me Oxford Christian Forbes Nordberg. They chose Jacoby J. Russell. However, in 2001, I legally changed my name for two reasons. Number one, I met my biological father, Dale Hugo Nordberg. And number two, I thought changing a name would change who I was. But here's the crazy thing that life revealed to me pretty quickly. Changing your name does not necessarily make the man. It's about somebody's identity, their family history. That all matters, but a name by itself does not change who a man is. It's the things that you really have to be willing to become disciplined and you're willing to work on. Your attitude, your faith, your outlook on life, and the choices that you choose to make. The final most important thing that shapes a person today is their willingness and desire to grow. And I have to be honest with you, for a long time, these lessons, they sucked. I was born in Gardena, California, February 10th, 1970. Now, just 6 months after birth, my family moved to Tacoma, Washington. And then when I was 6 years old, we moved to Palestine, Texas, where the man that I called Dad grew up. Now, I don't want anyone to feel sorry for me, but I'd like to give you an opportunity to see why I look at people the way I do today. I didn't come from a stable home. I came from an abusive one. I was often confused, and a lot of times I felt rejected. As a child, there were way too many things I had to learn on my own. When I was 8 years old, my mother chose to give me to Paul Dressel, and I wouldn't reconnect with her until 9 years later. When I was 13 years old, Paul took me to Anderson County Courthouse, where I was emancipated due to the fact that I ran away from home. So, as you can see, I didn't have a normal upbringing. I didn't get the structure that children deserve. I've learned that all young men, we need guidance. Otherwise, if left to our own devices, we will make some very poor choices. And these choices that young men make today usually come from anger, from pain, and survival. So understand, today when I see a child who's automatically messing up does not mean that he's a bad child. A lot of times it means that he's been hurt, neglected, confused, or he's been left alone for far too long. Whenever I see a man or a woman struggling, it does not automatically mean failure. Sometimes it's someone who just didn't have a solid foundation. Now understand something, that does not excuse their bad choices, but it should explain why people who had great upbringings should show accountability and compassion with these people, because that's what matters. When I ran away from home at 13, I gotta be honest with you, I got into a lot of trouble. And I'm not gonna try to dress it up. I'm not gonna tell you that I was sweet and innocent, because you know what, that would be just plain stupid. I made horrible choices. I carried a ton of anger. I was more bitter than a bottle of cold apple cider vinegar. And I was as immature as a 4-year-old. And I felt lost, like a man driving around without a GPS system. When I was 16, I thought I was Tony Montana. And that choice, it had some severe consequences, and it should have taken my life in a completely different direction. However, by the grace of God, there was a police officer who saw something in me I didn't even know was there. He pushed very hard for the courts to send me to McKinney Job Corps instead of allowing the system to swallow me up. There at McKinney Job Corps, I got a GED, my driver's license, and I earned 2 certificates, one in retail sales and the other in accounting. The cool thing about all of this was, for the very first time in my life, I felt like I had a chance to build something beautiful instead of trying to survive a night at the Everglades. There are some rare moments when just one person stepping up at the right time can change somebody's direction in life forever. Now, I don't want you to get it twisted. Job courts did not magically fix everything. Bad decisions were still very prevalent in my life. I attempted to fill the void with alcohol and drugs. And because of me trying to fill that void, that caused me to hurt a lot of people. I allowed bitterness to fill my heart and my mind. God was blamed for everything I did wrong in my life. And I chose to live life full of anger. And I regretted heaven every second of the day. At the age of 25, I failed at marriage because of verbal abuse and infidelity. And I mean, who could blame her? The first half of my life, I made costly financial decisions that ruined my credit. I used payday loans to keep the lights and water on. I took out a title loan to pay rents once. I sold things I owned for more stupid decisions that I labeled as fun. You're listening to a guy that has felt financial pressure, who made short-term choices with long-term consequences. I'm not proud of any of this, and because I was self-taught, it took me more time to learn the lessons the hard way. I will never hide from this because failure isn't a bad thing. It's a very costly way to educate yourself about life. But the man sitting here today isn't the same immature child that made these mistakes 25 years ago. Life has humbled me in ways that I'm thankful for today. Believe it or not, I've had a heart attack, 3 strokes. I had heart valve replacement. I had surgery to drain fluid from my right lung. And I even had a hip replacement. And due to substance abuse, I had to get a full set of dentures. I had a broken heart. I had shame. And you got to throw in a lot of regret there. And through most of this, there was still this amazing woman who God installed a triple portion of patience, love, forgiveness, and the willingness to have stickability. My wife of almost 20 years has been a true gift from God. Only He could mold someone with all of these awesome attributes and drop her into my life. In September of 2022, I made a commitment to Christ that with His love and guidance, I'd be willing to change the way I lived, thought, reacted, and the way that I treated those who were made in God's image. But most importantly, I promised to stop blaming everybody, including God, for my poor decisions. I wanted to change, not just my name, but my words and me. But the lack of discipline that I had to change my attitude, my habits, along with the relationships with God, my wife, my kids, and with people. Understand this. I'm not too proud to say that I'm still learning, growing, and being shaped into a better man every day. I refuse to stay the same, and I refuse to allow pride and ego to stunt my growth. There is a famous saying that I truly believe in. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over while expecting a different result every time. Please think about this November when you're standing at the ballot box. Today, I work as a full-time loss mitigation specialist. That is a person who helps homeowners navigate hardship. Homeowners who are dealing with rising property taxes, homeowners insurance, and owners who have experienced job loss, medical issues, and family emergencies. And, of course, there's a lot of unexpected interruption that life just seems to throw at us. I understand that these are all things that can knock a person to their knees. I've been in and around the mortgage industry since I was 18. I know what it looks like when people are just trying to hang in there. I know what it looks like when someone is too embarrassed to ask for help. I get it when the numbers just aren't adding up and the bills keep coming in. And I see a lot of people who are always fighting like hell to avoid losing their home and everything that they have worked so hard to do. I have to say that it brings me joy when someone tells me that the relief that my work has provided for them has brought them some relief. I believe in building things, working hard, always trying to learn. I want to use that whatever time God grants me to be as helpful to anyone who desires it. I love God, I love my wife, my children, my job, and I have these two amazing furry animals that I call Martini and Marcel. Marcel is a very special cat, for he has anxiety and he's always chewing on his legs. So my wife and I have to take his medicine and stir it up in a kitty treat and trick him into taking medicine nightly. So I think I live a pretty interesting life. There's never a dull moment. I also want to let you know that I enjoy baseball, football, and yes, I love Miami Vice, fashion, and I love to learn how to become the best version Ox can become. I love life in a way now that I could never have in the past. This is something that most politicians will never say to you. Maybe it sounds corny, but hey, I'm not most politicians. I have to admit, I love people, all shapes, sizes, and colors. People amaze me, they frustrate me, and sometimes they hurt me. But that will never keep me from loving and respecting as many people as I can. Greed, hate, immaturity, and selfishness, they're all a part of life. Evil will always exist. But I still believe that there is a lot of love, compassion, concern, and a willingness to bless those that they love and those that are strangers. I don't favor fake concern, campaign season kindness, or saying what sounds good and then disappearing. I don't, nor do I ever expect to sound, look, dress, act like a typical politician. I'm running because a congressman can become I don't, nor do I ever expect to sound, look, dress, or act like a typical politician. I'm running to become a congressman because residents of District 30 deserve better than your typical politician. Aren't you tired of being lied to? Watching both parties point fingers at each other, listening to slander, hate, and watching nothing effective take place? I admit I'm raw, I'm blunt, and I may say things in a way that offends you, but understand, being offensive is not my objective. I'm not running to hurt, mock, degrade, or divide anybody. In fact, my goal is to unite as many people as possible. Together we can stand. Divided, we most definitely will crumble. The honest truth, accountability, transparency, and growth, I believe still matter. The title politician should not be a dirty word. Out of millions of Americans, there are only 435 who have the honor to be elected as a member of Congress, and only 100 to be elected to the Senate. Each and every elected official should be proud, honored, and humbled to serve its fellow Americans. Politics and religion are two topics I'm very passionate about. Because, I gotta tell you, they shape how people think, how they live, and how they treat one another, and how people learn what's right and what's wrong. Politics and faith can't be placed into a box, though, because they have many layers. They require maturity, humility, and discipline. They require every American to admit that problems cannot be solved by slogans. They also require us to understand that people who disagree or have a different point of view of us should not be viewed as Satan themselves. I'm confident in who I am, And I continue to remain honest about where I've been and the mistakes that I've made along the way. Experience, especially painful experience, has taught me that people need truth, grace, and compassion. I have learned to forgive. I have asked to be forgiven. And I have stopped blaming the past for what's going on in my future. All of this is what's becoming a responsible man is all about. So, why should you keep listening to me? I promise not to pretend. And I won't act as if I know everything about Washington, because I don't. But I will learn, I will work, I will listen, and I most definitely am willing to be held accountable. I know what brokenness looks and feels like. I have experienced in knowing bad decisions and what they can do to people. I know what financial pressure and family pain feels and looks like. I know what it means to need mercy and still be responsible for our choices. I work for every man, for every woman, for every child, senior citizen, and every veteran here in TX-30. This is not about red, not about blue. It's just about you. My loyalty is not to a party machine. My responsibility is to the people of TX-30. I know that people won't agree with everything I'm saying, and I'm okay with that. But with that being said, I promise you, where and why I stand the way I do, you will know the truth. I'll share with you when I am confident about something. I will be humble, and I will admit when I'm still learning something. And I won't be too proud to admit when I've made a mistake. Lastly, when I make a promise, you can expect to hold me to it. I'm Oxford Nordberg, and I'm asking to write my name in this November for the U.S. House of Representatives, right here in Texas' 30th Congressional District. I hope you have learned a thing or two about the man that desires to represent you in 2027 and beyond. I would like to thank you. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. This message has been brought to you by Oxford Nordberg for Congress. I am Oxford Nordberg, and I approve this message.